Okay, so this is just an update on my classmate who is still missing, Ashley McDonald. Just a little bit of background. She is from the Memphis area. She is 27 years old. She was going to Batesville, Mississippi, and she is now missing. She's been missing since November 25th, Thanksgiving. Just so you know, her car was discovered on December 15th. Why we're just now finding out February 14th that her car was discovered is beyond me. So her car was discovered next to a shed in Batesville, Mississippi. They said they didn't look into it because the car hadn't been reported missing yet by the finance company. Okay, that's great, but her family reported the car missing as well as her. So why weren't any phone records pulled? Why didn't they put an APB out for a car? There is a very specific car. With all of the sex trafficking going on, all the black women going missing, why are y'all not making this a priority? Because we already know the answer. When it was Holly that was missing, y'all about to tear the damn city up. Please continue to spread this because Memphis and Batesville police will not do anything about it.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining Get Into It with Taz and dun da da da. Chris.
There he is. Hello, everybody.
How are you doing today, darling?
Doing wonderful. Just another wonderful Wednesday.
We, just so y'all know, y'all don't want to miss a minute. If you haven't grabbed a beverage, grab a beverage real quick. If you need a snack, get it real quick because we have a lot of tea tonight and it is piping hot. It is
tea time.
So much has transpired in such a short period of time. Dear. Let's see.
Nice teapot.
Thank you. Okay. Did I accidentally miss a video uploading it? See, this is what happens when you have so many. Okay. Well, let's see. There we go. So our first one, I don't know how I missed this one, is this will be interesting for you. Because it's your team. It's your team, darling.
That's correct.
Yeah, so let's run this clip.
Yes.
Washington Commanders organization resulted in a 10-month investigation conducted by attorney Beth Wilkinson. On July 1 of last year, the league issued sanctions, but the league has kept the results of that investigation completely secret. In fact, the league didn't even ask attorney Beth Wilkinson to prepare a written report. I'm told that if she had, one of her recommendations would have indeed been that owner Daniel Snyder be required to sell the team. More recently, Congress has been pushing the league and the team to provide more information publicly. In fact, earlier this week, the league and the team were squabbling over which documents would be given to Congress. And 10 days ago, a former employee named Tiffany Johnston spoke to Congress and made allegations directly against owner Daniel Snyder, new allegations that hadn't previously been investigated. The league is now going to investigate those. And I'm told for the first time ever, there is a sense among ownership that the time may have come for Daniel Snyder to move on.
One can hope. That's my team, and I think the whole DC area would be just fine if he did that. I think the feelings, me being a loyal fan, I think from day one, a lot of people question Daniel Snyder's agenda of owning the team. And obviously within the past several years, we're finding out more things that are done within the organization, not just Snyder alone, but those associated with him within the building, the facility, then the structure. And I do think it's time. I mean, I live here in Charlotte, where the Panthers went through a situation with their previous owner, Richardson, who ended up selling the team. And that was based on issues going on within the building towards females. And like I said, it's we're hearing about a couple teams, few teams, whatever. I wouldn't be surprised that at some point more came out from other teams. This is a you could call a male sport, and a lot of those involved. And when you're talking about those that are employed under the roof, whether it's cheerleaders, whether it's faculty staff, whether it's facility employees, there's always that chance that something like this is going to happen within an organization that turns a blind eye. You know, things that aren't handled and swept under the rug keep getting swept under the rug until they're caught. That's the way a lot of people function in this world, anyways. You do things till you get caught. It's just has to come down to the bravery of a lot of these women that can come forward. A lot of them don't. A lot of them just move on to another job and take the pain and the scars with them. So you know, a lot of brave women have come forward, and things need to be done. I think now time is time. Yes, the team has a new name. Time for a new owner.
For a new name again too.
And I don't want to go into the name because it's not popular on most fans' lists. Don't know who decided on it, but obviously, if that's the name going forward, that's the team I support. So, but no, it was not even on my list. But yeah, I do think it's time though for the owner. It's been long overdue. I mean, you can't have this go on regardless. I think if it was maybe an owner that wasn't so headstrong about having a team where he makes a lot of money regardless of wins or losses, I think another owner may have stepped down sooner. And I think he's going to have to be forced basically to sell.
And as I was going through social media for a short period of time today, just trying to gauge some reactions, I would like to say that I was shocked, but I wasn't, by a lot of men from that generation, that era that he's from. And I'm tired of the good old boys excuse. Like, oh, well, that's how things were when he was younger. Guess what? You lived through change.
Mm-hmm.
If you could adapt business and you could adapt your budget, you can adapt your way of thinking. Just because way back when women couldn't have credit cards or open a bank account and were beholden to you and you could do whatever you wanted to, does that mean that stands true today?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he strong armed so many women, he knew what he was doing. Mm-hmm. He just thought that his money and his perceived power made him above everyone. Mm-hmm. And it's time for him to go.
You can't turn these cheerleaders from their job into literally escorts for associates. Bruce Allen, their former GM, as we know from the emails between him and John Gruden, this was a network. And, you know, mm-hmm. if one, you know, sometimes they just want to have the fall guy go down, but there's 20 other guys sitting there saying, okay, well, that guy's going to take the fall for us. They have to look into the network. They got to weed this out, or, you know, there's always that chance that things aren't going to be done properly. And it starts from the top down.
Yeah, let's not turn the Washington Commanders into Congress, because we know one person wasn't held accountable for virtually the same thing, and now there's like a whole trickle-down effect.
Yes.
But our next clip is more informational than anything else, but it's extremely important. Let's take a look.
You want to make some white supremacists mad with me? They plan on hanging their banners on overpasses and holding signs in communities once a month in every state all over the country for the rest of the year. I think we should make it a little bit harder for them to organize. Here's what you can do. Download the Telegram app. Give yourself a username that has nothing to do with you. Add a photo that has nothing to do with you. Check all of your privacy settings and make sure that they can't see any of your shit. Once your account is up, secure, and private, find these fuckers. In your chat section under the search bar, type in some of these and find them. Find all of them. Ask to be vetted in every group and waste their fucking time. Or comment and make the moderators mad. You can see them getting frustrated that there are so many people going in and trying to mess with their shit. They've had to move several channels, and they call out bad actors all the time. It drives them nuts. But imagine if all of us went in and made their organizing harder.
I've already done this.
Go ahead.
The next thing that we're going to get into, most people who watch actual news that's not listed as entertainment or completely filled with conspiracy theories and blatant lies, most of you have not heard of the Durham Report and have no idea who John Durham is. Now, I'm going to show you a clip that goes into what the Durham Report is. We're going to do some fact checking. And then we're going to get into the current controversy that's stemming from the GOP that's also pushing that this report is real. I know that sounds confusing, but we're going to get into it. Here we go. Whoops, wrong one. Weird.
Yesterday, at least 24 hours after the Durham Report went viral on social media, CNN finally did a write-up of the story, which the mainstream media largely stayed away from reporting on when the news first broke. This comes after special counsel John Durham released a filing that the Hillary Clinton campaign hired techs to infiltrate Trump Tower and White House servers to establish a narrative to link Donald Trump to Russia. Keith Olbermann took to the position that most liberals did on Twitter, as you can see here, and dismissed the story and its credibility, calling it BS, Trumpers to con even dumber Trumpers with.
As of yesterday afternoon, the Washington Post, New York Times, and cable news had yet to report on the investigation. Last night, Charlie Savage at the New York Times published a report reviewing the allegations and saying that really the right-wing reporting on them doesn't quite line up. Now, Politico briefly mentioned the story in a blurb that read, "What Trump is reading." A friend of the show, Rachel Bovard, commented saying a political campaign literally paid their opponents to spy on them in the White House, and Politico is just brushing it off as just a Trump issue. Okay. But despite the dismissal from the mainstream media, a January 2022 survey conducted by Technometrica Institute of Policy and Politics found that nearly 66% of Democrats want to see Hillary investigated over her possible role in manufacturing the Trump-Russiagate narrative.
Senior editor for the Post Millennial, Libby Emmons, is here to discuss. Welcome, Libby.
Thanks so much, Robbie. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. So, what do you make of so far the media, the mainstream media, not really covering this, and to the extent they are covering it, they're saying, yeah, no big deal. This is very normal. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that that's too much of a surprise. It's pretty much what we've come to expect from this type of thing. Conservative media covers certain stories, and left-wing media covers other stories. We're in such a partisan media divide that I don't think it's particularly surprising to not see these outlets covering this stuff. But I don't think that takes away at all from the severity of this story. Democrats were so sure of their right to rule that they thought anything in service to that, to maintaining their power, was justifiable. It's pretty horrifying.
But the left here gets caught in a bit of a trap sometimes, because the left can't always tell, and by the left I'm including the mainstream media here, they can't always tell what the next big right-wing story is going to be. And I think in this case, and I would encourage people to read the actual filing, the actual motion that Durham filed. He doesn't actually say that they infiltrated the White House. He doesn't say they infiltrated anything. It was the Obama White House that they were exploiting access to DNS data, and they had legal access to that data. The Obama White House had in fact been hacked by Russia in like 2014, 2015. And so the military was looking into this, and also these cybersecurity companies were looking into it. And so it was the Obama White House. So the claim has now evolved into the Trump White House. And so I don't know, Libby, what is the mainstream media supposed to do about this? So Fox News takes this filing, which does not say that the Trump White House was infiltrated. It doesn't even say the Obama White House was infiltrated. It says the Obama White House's internet data was analyzed. And then they report that the Trump White House was infiltrated. And then they say, look at the mainstream media ignoring this story. They won't cover this story, which is actually not true. Now, this is separate from all the other Russiagate stuff. Just in this particular motion, that's not what Durham said. So what is the mainstream media supposed to do with this? My answer is they're going to have to start chasing the right-wing crap all the time, and reporting on it honestly, like immediately, because you can't let it get out of hand like.
The utter flip-flopping just in this report. Now, it's already been investigated who was actually involved or in bed with Russia, and we already know that it was the Trumps. Even if data from the Obama White House was examined, it wouldn't be able to tell you anything about Trump, his campaign, his rulings, his thoughts, because he wasn't in the White House.
Right.
And John Durham was special counsel. On October 19th, 2020, John Durham was appointed by Attorney General William Barr to serve as the special counsel by order number 4878-2020. The report is what you would expect from a Trump sycophant. Just conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory, just a bunch of regurgitation. And I think it's ironic yet on time that right now when Trump is taking on so much heat and Biden is not willing to cover his ass, which I don't know why Trump thought that Biden was going to want to cover his ass, especially after Trump being so disrespectful. I'm not even going to bring in the Democratic GOP differences. Trump was flat out disrespectful to Biden and then wants a favor. But the reason why I said before, now the right wing is conflicted as to the validity of the report.
Right.
Because there's a website called Right Wing Patriots. Yes, when I say I research things, I crisscross over to the other side for you guys. That doesn't believe that John Durham exists. And the reason why they don't think John Durham exists, I have another clip for y'all.
Did Q tell him?
Oh, watch this. Watch this clip. I can't even keep a straight face, but here we go.
So Counsel John the Punisher Durham here. You know, the guy that took down James Whitey Bulger. So, long time no see. Where have I been? TCB, taking care of business.
Alrighty.
Now that guy is legitimately a comedian on YouTube. Here's the actual John Durham. But here's the problem. This is the picture. Hold on. Let me see. Why is it not?
They put the wrong, they gave the wrong picture.
There we go. That's the picture that they're using on Fox News, Breitbart, everything else. And this picture is obviously photoshopped. It's obviously staged.
Yeah.
So as people are like, oh no, this is fake. Of course, in good GOP right-wing fashion, they have to come up with a cover story. But he is a real person. He has
Yes.
not, as of yet, given a statement or a real press conference. He's just made this filing out of the blue, and evidently he's been investigating this since 2020 when he was appointed. Yeah, because in the Trump White House, they were getting rid of real positions and real departments that we as a country needed,
Mhm.
just like the pandemic response team and the playbook, but then creating positions for nonsensical things. Like we were really headed up by Boss Baby.
Mhm. Yeah.
But, that leads us. I should not get such a tickle out of the Trump news, but leads us to this headline. Biden orders release of Trump White House logs to Congress. President Joe Biden is ordering the release of Trump can't talk tonight, of Trump White House
There
visitor
you go.
log to the House committee investigating the riot. Ooh, I like how they just told the truth there. Of January 6, 2021, once more rejecting former President Donald Trump's claims of executive privilege. He really needs to learn. He really truly is no longer in
Yeah, I
office.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah, so the committee has sought a trove of data from the National Archives, including presidential records that Trump had fought to keep private. The records being released to Congress are visitor logs showing appointment information for individuals who were allowed to enter the White House on the day of the insurrection.
Right.
Because if you're just having a rally
Mhm.
and nothing more is supposed to happen,
Right. Right.
why do you need such an influx of visitors that day? Because you still, first of all, you should have been doing your job instead of campaigning while you're in the office you originally campaigned for.
Yeah.
And this is really not going to look good because it's pretty much been cemented who gave plans and who gave inside information regarding congressional grounds.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
you know,
There's a
Trump
lot
is the
that.
same person who
There's also
claimed
a
that.
lot that happened at the Willard.
Yeah.
The Willard Hotel was such a popular place too.
They're always special.
Mhm.
Um, some of you may have heard or seen yesterday on social media that the music festival Coachella, well, here's the headline. Coachella drops all COVID-19 precautions. Attendees won't be required to show vaccination proof, negative test results, or wear masks. Now I'm going to show you a clip, but don't freak out. I will read to you what it says, but in all transparency, they've made a few changes. They didn't announce it to the world, but it's on their website. Here we go.
Oh, boy.
So, in accordance with local guidelines, there will be no vaccination, testing, or masking requirements for Coachella 2022. However, the event shall be presented in accordance with applicable public health conditions as of the date of the event, and which may change at any time as determined by federal, state, or local government agencies or instrumentalities, artist, or the promoter. Such requirements may include, with limitation, changes to capacity, attendance procedures, entry requirements such as proof of vaccination and or negative COVID-19 test, or protective measures such as requiring attendees to wear face masks. Y'all might as well just prepare to show your vaccination cards and wear a mask and
So
do your best.
I'm guessing they'll still let Kanye in.
Well, he's headlining.
Yeah.
And what's really trippy is that this festival ends on my birthday in April. All I got to say is, y'all be safe out there and don't die on my birthday, please. And don't die,
So
cuz.
it's still not going to outdo the halftime show.
No. Mm-mm. Oh, and we got another nugget regarding that too.
Mm-hmm.
And for any of you all that use Zoom like I do, and any of you all that chime into any of my classes or viewing parties, here's some information for you. And I believe everybody could use a little extra coins in their pockets, so maybe this applies to you.
Quick reminder that if you use Zoom in this 5-year period, even for free, like you paid them nothing, Zoom owes you money. Only 22 days left to file. Start here.
There's a nugget.
So yeah. And let's check in with our neighbors up north and those shenanigans. And yes, it has gotten worse from parents using their own children as human shields. Don't believe me? Here we go.
I've been asked about 239,000 times to cover the Freedom Convoy protest in Canada. I don't typically cover Canada. I'm not an expert on Canada, but I'm going to try, so please take this with a grain of salt. What originally started as a vaccine mandate protest by truckers has now escalated into a protest against all mandates and basically against the government at large. As many as 360 trucks and thousands of protesters have been camped out for 19 days in the nation's capital of Ottawa. And over the weekend, their Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, invoked something called the Emergencies Act. The act was written in 1988 and had never been invoked. It essentially gives Trudeau the right to deploy more police, those police can be more aggressive, and, maybe most importantly, allows him to cut off all funding to the Freedom Convoy. In light of this news, the police chief quit, saying he hasn't been effective at getting the protesters to leave and he can't really motivate the police to get them to leave either. And the Canadian Civil Liberties Association is siding with protesters, saying that while it is a great inconvenience for Ottawans, the protest does not meet the threshold for extreme, and the Emergencies Act shouldn't have been invoked. So,
Well, all right now.
People have died because they blocked roads
How about the Great
and
White North?
ambulances couldn't get through. They are not being peaceful whatsoever. I have watched Canadians give their side of the story. They're over this. They're tired of the children being used as shields. They're tired of fearing for if they need emergency assistance, how long is it going to take to get through these convoys? They're legitimately blocking ambulances. Like, how is this helping your own people?
It's not. Yeah, I don't know to what extent Trudeau is going to let things go as they are. And normally we don't talk about Canada, but this is serious.
And we have congressmen and women that are requesting that this cavalcade of trucks infiltrate the United States. Now, I will say, this is the only time I can think of that I actually agree with Fox News. Now, they are doing a bit more fear mongering.
Now, was this during the daytime or this was during daytime?
It was all the way through. They don't want the convoy to come through. They don't want COVID spread. And it's funny because with this particular issue, now they're pro-vaccination, Fox News. And I don't think the viewers are even paying attention. My thing is, I am more fearful of the trucker strike. I can't even call it a strike. Just the trucker shenanigans and bullshittery infiltrating the United States than I ever was regarding a caravan coming from our southern borders.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy with his shitty products.
The one that sells sheets and blankets and.
Yeah, he was trying to send 10,000 pillows to the truckers up there because he's like, woohoo. And here's the thing. Here's the irony. He found a truck driver willing to drive a semi over. And I'm like, it's a truck driver protest, but you're going to put a truck driver to work. Okay, I digress. But he wasn't allowed to cross the border because all of the drivers, all the volunteers, and the film crew that he got, because of course Mike Lindell needed publicity and coverage for it, none of them were vaccinated, so they couldn't cross the border.
What about that? Did they get a set of towels?
I don't think Mike Lindell's products are truly
because
trash.
he sells everything now, and
I don't even know how he became rich, because even when this isn't a matter of supply chain.
one of his banks just cut him off.
Yeah, but this isn't like the fake supply chain issue thing that they keep saying is going on. No, corporations are using that as an excuse to just rape you. Like, just say, just tell these corporations, speak up and go, no, we know what you're doing. This is not a supply chain thing. And businesses, stop agreeing to these inflated prices. The larger corporations need you more than you need them. If you start telling them no, they will stop doubling and tripling the prices. They need you because you can shop around. Think of big corporations as you do a used car dealership. If you don't like the terms of one, you pack it up and go to the next one, even if your current car is on its last leg, because you refuse to be taken advantage of. Stop being afraid of the big corporations, because they're shaking in their boots, afraid they're going to lose you. But I digress. This next story is going to be 2 videos back to back, and trigger warning. We have a child that was injured due to yet another no-knock warrant.
Okay, I can't see.
Thank you, John. Tonight, Pensacola Police Department says they've launched an internal affairs investigation into a child that parents say was hurt while in police custody.
This happened after officers executed a search warrant at the father's home nearly a week ago. The 2 children were inside that home. The family says the father shot at officers because he feared that the officers were intruders.
Channel 3's Olivia Iverson has been on the story since the beginning, and today she sat down with that mother. Olivia?
Good evening, Bob. So that mother tells me she co-parents with that man police arrested last week. She wants to know how her baby boy was injured in the hands of police. In fact, after I took her concerns to the police department, they backed out of my interview scheduled with the chief on Friday and announced that internal investigation. Today, she sat down with me telling their story for the first time since that raid. At 5 o'clock in the morning, Kion and Kylan were asleep with their dad at their Pensacola home.
Hold on. Do not know how my notes got out of order. But for the information that you could not read, let me fill you in. Here we go. Okay. So it was 5 a.m. in the morning. The police entered. Father was awakened. Shot off 1 round before he realized it was the police, put the gun down, and surrendered. The warrant was not for him. It was for computer equipment that he had in his possession. I'm assuming that he was working on them. He was arrested and taken into custody. The police dropped his 1-year-old, refused to let EMS take the child to the hospital or render any support. They did not tell the father that his child was injured. When the child was then returned to the mother, she was not given any information and took the child to the hospital, where it appears that the injuries are quite severe. The child was unrecognizable. And
guilty
the
of that.
father has been charged with attempted murder. And this was in Pensacola, Florida.
Good old Florida.
And once again, this is a no-knock warrant, registered licensed gun carrier. Police were not announced because, like I said, the father happened to notice after, because he was literally sleeping in the bed with his two
5 a.m.
And once he realized it was police, he put his gun down, he apologized, but now they're charging him with attempted murder. But I would say the charge of attempted murder is whichever one of those cops dropped that child.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, why do you need a no-knock warrant for computer equipment that doesn't even belong to him? And that's what scares me the most in working in IT. Because what if somebody gives me their computer equipment to repair, which happens a lot, and the cops need it? If you need it, show me the warrant, I'll give it to you. Because legally, I do have to see the warrant before I can hand over anybody's property. I need to see your badge, I need to see the warrant so that I don't get sued. But why do you need a no-knock to pick up equipment?
Mm-hmm. My whole thing with the no-knock is you do have a lot, number one, you do have a lot of gun owners that are owners the right way. But nevertheless, if you're coming in the middle of the night, usually people have guns that for home defense. So coming in literally, and I'm saying unannounced because of the time frame that somebody coming in. I mean, I could be a thief and break in and say, hey, police, just to get your attention. So the fact that you're going off of something verbal and you're not going off of a chance to see a badge or to see a document, you're coming out of a sleep, usually. That's a hard case for somebody to justify why somebody wouldn't pull a gun on somebody for defense. I mean, like I said, I could be a thief and claim, I don't even have to impersonate a cop. I could just kick in the door and say police and try and catch you off guard and get what I need done.
Yeah, because in the case of Breonna Taylor with the no-knock warrant, they were in plain clothes. And these are becoming so frequent and becoming so deadly.
Or the lady that went into the wrong apartment. That wasn't hers.
Who's to know? And I'm glad you said that, because one of my neighbors, that's her fear, that criminals are going to start using these tactics and people are going to be so afraid to be charged or to be murdered.
Right.
They're just going to be like, yeah, go search my house, even if they've done nothing wrong.
Right. Right.
But real quick, we got to take a break to run the ad. We'll see you all in season 2. You're good. And now we're on to the sea of white comfortability, aka book burnings, and the proposal of what's been dubbed, and some of the proposed legislation is literally titled white comfort. Let's roll it.
Do you think book burning is bad? Well, good news. It gets so much worse. Just wait till you hear some of the proposed bills the GOP has. In Oklahoma, you can sue a teacher for up to $10,000 if they teach something to your kid that you don't agree with religiously. And not only that, but that teacher isn't allowed to use any organization or funding to pay that $10,000. It has to come out of their pocket. And if it doesn't, they're not allowed to teach in that state for 5 years. Gosh, I wonder how anyone might abuse that. Iowa has a proposed bill where they're going to put cameras in everybody's classrooms. Oh, but they're not going to pay for it. It can just come out of the school's budget. There's money for that, right? Fun fact, Iowa State Police don't wear body cams. There's just no money for it. Indiana wants to jail librarians whenever the books that are arbitrarily banned show up in their libraries, and they want to make it so that you're not allowed to teach that Nazis or any similar political ideology are of low moral character. And then one of their senators said that, they should really be impartial when teaching about the Nazis. He has since tried to walk that back. These are just some of the many proposed bills being put forth by the GOP and supported by it. It's not like one rogue senator's like, I don't know, I think we should do this crazy thing. And everyone's like, whoa, Joe, that's too far. It's every GOP-held state is putting out increasingly authoritarian. I wonder why that could be. Could it be because they're fascists? No, right? It's just that they are saying fashy things and trying to pass fashy bills and, try to overthrow the election with a coup. But, it's both sides, am I right?
Yeah, I remember seeing book burning in a documentary by the Germans.
Oh, there was a whole pastor of a church that had a whole book burning ceremony also. But here's the thing. Police officers can come and kill you. Your family can sue them in civil court and win a settlement, and then the taxpayers are responsible to pay it. But a teacher fulfilling their job requirements to teach your children properly can be fined, because although we're supposed to have a separation of church and state, you can claim to have this religious moral ground and ruin a teacher's life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who'd want to teach?
And when people ask why I left the traditional school system and decided to break off and teach on my own, here you go. And for those of you all that want to actually learn actual history,
I know, and that's painful because for me, I love documentaries. I love learning about things that I still don't know a lot about. And I want to know. I want to know how it was, the good, the bad, the ugly. That's history. History isn't watered down. You don't get diet history. History, a lot of times, is ugly. But I don't need someone to tell me, well, it wasn't that bad. They did hold hands at times. I mean, I want to know I want to know what it was, what actually took place. That is history. If that's not what happened, then it's not history.
Yeah, just like 2 weeks ago in my Saturday class, for those of you all that would like to join, the link is the static link that's right below us. There were a lot of blown minds because sometimes I forget my level of nerd. Yes, before you say it, we know that I am Sheldon. We know this. Hence the fact that every time I shoot down here, I'm in the same spot on the couch. And before you all ask, I do go sit. Should somebody sit in my spot, like
your personal space?
But when I was talking about the 104 Black doctors that volunteered their services during World War One. No one knew about them. And when people ask why I named my dog what I named my dog, for those of you that do not know, his name is Urbane. He's named after Urbane Fontaine Bass, who was posthumously awarded the second most highest Medal of Honor you can get in the United States Army. This man kept trying to save lives up until he took on German artillery shrapnel and had to be carried from the field. He is also the first Black officer to be buried in the Fredericksburg Cemetery. So many people don't know this because marginalized communities, thanks to whitewashing of history, the Daughters of the Confederacy, and them trying to romanticize the Civil War, Reconstruction, the KKK, and these things, you only hear particularly about the history of Black people beginning and ending in slavery, then miraculously resurrecting during the civil rights era, which they tried to put in the same time frame as slavery. So all of those things in between and the intertwining and how people actually viewed people, why certain presidents voted a certain way. And just like I've had to explain to people, like, stop holding certain presidents to such a high regard. Well, they did the most for Black people because they didn't have a choice.
Right.
The legislation was already there. The momentum was already going. Someone was assassinated, and they knew that the country was already volatile. They couldn't make the country any more volatile and continue to deny
Right.
a nice chunk of the population rights. They didn't do it because they believed it.
Right.
And these are the things that need to be taught. And what gets me are all these racist, fascist individuals that are fighting against critical race theory being taught because they're afraid of their children and grandchildren seeing them in the textbooks. Because let's be real, they're afraid of their children and grandchildren getting actual dates and realizing, whoa, grandma, you were like 20 years old when this happened. This wasn't as far back as I thought. And their biggest excuse is we don't want white children to be uncomfortable. How uncomfortable do you think the rest of us are, where we have to read literature with slurs directed at us in it and have teachers that are racist take pleasure in the fact that because it's in the book, they can say it and look us dead in the eye. And yes, that happens. How comfortable do you think we are that all they ever want to teach about is slavery and 3 Black people, and that's it? And they only want to do that for 5 minutes. And then they want us to give reports and do the intellectual labor for not only them as instructors and educators, but for the rest of the class. And if we go out of the spectrum of those same 3 Black people that they have deemed are now safe, because they've even whitewashed their history, we're wrong, we're making it up, and we're exaggerating. I don't know how comfortable people think that it is to be oppressed. And right now, racist white people, I'm not talking to the rest of y'all, just the racist ones. Stop treating oppression as if it is a trend. You are not oppressed because you have to wear a mask and give a damn about your fellow man. You are not oppressed because you can't go into your favorite restaurant, bar, eatery, or anything else because you refuse to get vaccinated and wear a mask. You are not oppressed when you make the choice not to get vaccinated when you work with the general public or you are in charge of somebody else's overall health, meaning you foresee if they live or die. That is not oppression. When you go into a bank and you're denied a loan before you even fill out the application just because they looked at you, that's oppression. When your houses are appraised lower because they look at your family pictures or look at you, that's oppression. When you fear calling the police because it's a coin toss as to whether or not they're going to treat you like the criminal or send you on to Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and a few Hindu gods. That's oppression. And on top of that, add on being a woman when you aren't even given the God-given right Because y'all love to talk about God-given rights of bodily autonomy. That's oppression. When social media shadow bans you just for talking about your experience in this country, that's oppression. When a mediocre white boy can cosplay being poor and is now having contracts for millions of dollars thrown into his lap for having zero talent, miss me with the oppression bullshit. Because when you can walk into a store with your phone up, already ready to record, knowing you're going in there to cause problems, and you have no fear of being arrested, tackled, injured, you're not oppressed. You're causing the scene because you want to be centered in this movement that is happening.
Called the instigator.
Because it's no longer just black and brown people that are saying, hey, stop treading on us. White people are joining in too now. And now you have the Karens, the Kevins, the Richards, and the Beckys like, wait, my tears don't work anymore. Oh my God. Oh,
But think about this. Think about this when we're talking about the history. The fear of some of these white families losing their white kids to the knowledge of real history, feeling sympathy, and joining the liberals. That's their fear. Their kids will become liberal because they fear that colleges, and there's a lot of colleges that typically may be more liberal with professors. Their fear is always losing their kids, meaning overall losing voters eventually. So this is all a matter of losing control of their own kids over real history. Well,
and they're also afraid that their kids are going to turn around and look at them and go, hey, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, oh, you join that side, we're going to disown you. You're one of them.
And there's one guy, I saw a short clip on Instagram where, and I'm glad he did what he did, and we need more people like this. He called out his own mother. Now, she didn't view herself as racist, but evidently she has a motorcycle room. And she was like, oh, I got to show you a new picture from my motorcycle room. It was a picture of her grandfather. This man said he went off. He was like, oh, you mean the police officer that abused his power to demonize black and brown people? You mean the man that was in the KKK? Well, that's our relative. That doesn't give him a pass. And you putting him up glorifies him.
Right.
And then you're showing my daughter and any other generations that it's okay and we're supposed to protect them and make excuses. We're not. And one lady said it best after Sunday's halftime game. Stop listening to predominantly black music, participating in predominantly black events, wanting to bulldoze into predominantly black or all black spaces, but not checking your racist friends and family members. And first of all, if you say that you're anti-racist, why do you have racist friends? You can't help who your family is, but you can help who you share space with.
Right. I mean, wouldn't you at some point disassociate yourself with rhetoric that is opposing to you or disrespectful in your eyes? I don't know how anyone could sit around that and feel comfortable. I mean, that's a choice you make. You choose who's in your space. You choose who you listen to. If you don't want to comment, walk away. But don't go back. Don't keep coming around, hanging out. You know what you're going to be in for. But, you consider that a good friend, but yet you don't share. Okay, so what's the real deal then? What don't you really share and what do you share? Because you don't want to share that space. I mean, that's your personal space. Like I said, we choose who we invite in. If somebody's toxic, we choose to walk away.
That part. Now, some things, you guys, I'm going to have to push till tomorrow night, but there are two nuggets that I really want to get in here, especially because I want to get Chris's take on this. So let's see what Jimmy the Greek had to say when asked way back when there were 0 black coaches in the NFL.
If they take over coaching like everybody wants them to, there's not going to be anything left for the white people. I mean, all the players are black. I mean, the only thing that the whites control is the coaching jobs. Now, I'm not being derogatory about it, but that's all that's left for them. The black talent is beautiful. It's great. It's out there. So the only thing left for the whites is a couple coaching jobs.
Yeah, maybe we need to get more black coaches.
Oh, it's all right with me. I'm sure that they'll take over that pretty soon, too.
You want me to tell you why there aren't any black executives? I'm not going to tell you it's because the blacks aren't intelligent enough. I'm going to tell you because it is that whites have been running the establishment of broadcasting, just as they've been running the establishment of baseball for too long, and seem to be reluctant to give up power.
But let's say what it is, that there is a sense that the black can work in the field. He can work in the cotton field, he can work on the ball field. But ask a black to use his brain, run a team, plan a team. Oh my goodness, you're talking about real integration.
That part.
The lies detected there.
Yeah. That's exactly what we talk about when we talk about the owners and those that are in decision-making positions, leadership positions. Not one of the team, not one of the, if we look at the whole structure of a team organization, yeah, you have your leaders and you have your staff or your players. The team is fine if you want to have it diverse. But when it comes to leadership positions, that's what they're saying all of a sudden. Wait a minute, we don't want diversity in these areas, and we're in 2022. Like,
they don't want the diversity because they said it perfectly. You can't keep selling racism and saying, "Oh, I'm not racist." Black people just can't handle that. Black people just aren't thinkers, because if you give black people what they earn and put them in the positions that they're qualified for, you can no longer scream that we're lazy, we're stupid, we have no critical thinking skills. And I still, to this day, think it's very, very funny that black people became lazy when our labor became no longer free.
I think it's interesting how outside of those that will blatantly come out and say, they don't like certain races, I don't hear where you're ever going to really hear people say, I'm a racist, or I'm, so of course you always are going to have people say, I'm not a racist, but I'm not a racist, but, and then you're going to hear something come out that sounds pretty racist, So I can't go along with someone that says, well, they said they're not racist. Okay, how about 5 minutes of listening or less? And you're going to hear something that if you listen close, or not even that close, you're going to detect stuff. And every NFL owner could come out and say, well, look, we employ a lot of, blacks and Hispanic, and, in what positions? We're talking about what you would consider on, these are people that make me money. I'm not talking about people that are side by side helping me make decisions. I'm talking about people that are actually out there either winning or losing. The entertainers of the industry. I can make money off of entertainers, but to sit next to me and make decisions on what direction this organization should go, oh no, no. So that's where it lies in. It lies within, like some of them have pointed out, like plantation owners.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, you want to get to the root of the problem. Unfortunately, Roger Goodell is an employee of them. They don't like what Roger Goodell's saying. Guess where Roger Goodell's going? On a long vacation. So
it's a nice sentence package, but he ain't sticking around. And the final one for tonight, here's a headline. Cowboys paid $2.4 million to settle voyeurism allegations from cheerleaders against team executive per report. The Cowboys ended a battle of alleged misconduct with a confidential settlement. Excuse me. The Cowboys have reportedly paid a confidential settlement in the amount of $2.4 million per ESPN, stemming from allegations of voyeurism from several members of the team's cheerleading squad.
Yeah, the upskirt.
So, the head of the public relations department for 32 years with the Cowboys is accused of entering the Cowboys cheerleaders' locker room in 2015 as they undressed and holding up a cell phone in their direction, allegedly aimed at a group of women who were a mix of fully clothed to completely unclothed. The women then informing team security, team counsel, and club HR of the occurrence. What in the Trump?
And guess what? They investigated, and guess what? The guy kept his job. No discipline.
Of course.
He was a long-standing member. He was part of the club, as they say.
Well, remember when it came out that Trump was doing the same thing when he was the head of certain pageants, and then he made that infamous quote as to grab him by the, and they were like, "Oh, that's just locker room talk."
Right.
What locker room? The devil's locker room?
There's reasons locker rooms have doors on them, but apparently he used a security key to come in a back entrance into those locker rooms for the females.
Yeah, because
he had a security key because he's part of the management.
But as an athlete and a coach, I've never had a male coach of mine. And there was one season I had one woman, one man. They were co-coaches come into the locker room and we were not completely dressed. And I mean, we were given a time frame like, hey, in 30 minutes, I have to come in and talk to you all. But then there was also, is everybody together?
Right.
You know, captains would be like, yep. And then and then I had one coach that would not meet with us in the locker room at all. He would meet with us outside of the locker room.
Right.
To make sure everybody was good, blah, blah, blah. And dude wasn't even a coach.
No.
And to be that blatant, like this is, and for the people who think that this country is still not under a patriarchy, like the utter mancacity. Like some men have nothing but audacity.
Yes. And that's how they see women. Some men see women as objects. You know, yeah, sure, they're cheerleaders. Yeah, they jump around, but, you know, somehow they have the right to peep.
Well, yeah, and men that see us as objects, here's the ironic part. They see us up as objects, but then get upset when we play the role. Then all of a sudden we're gold diggers and we're up to no good and we're trying to destroy men. But if you put me in the role of the object, and yes, y'all, I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. Have I done this before? Yes, to prove a point to a man. Where it's like, you want to put me in the role of the object? Bet.
Well, look how the men see, like, let's say at the height where, you know, like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, when back in the day, you know, that was like, you know, the ultimate goal for somebody that wanted to be a cheerleader. Well, when you got a female that's jumping around, and of course they're putting on the tightest, smallest little uniforms, that's all fine and dandy as long as they don't open their mouth, as long as they don't tell on somebody, as long as they just play the game the way they're told to. Otherwise, we'll replace you.
Because the creme de la creme were the Laker girls and the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
Right.
And it was known that they had the prettiest girls, the best dancers. They're putting out calendars. These girls are getting deals on the side and going on and having lucrative careers as choreographers or breaking into the dance world or getting into modeling or actressing. And they hold ladies' heads.
I mean, we saw that, like the Laker girls. I mean, we know that Paula Abdul came from there. You know, we've seen cases where someone's actually taken that to a successful other level. But once again, how rare is that? A lot of this is part-time jobs. They did not ask to be pranced around or to be ushered away to meet some executives as some escort, or to be upskirted in a locker room that's supposed to be private. I mean, these are not just violations; they're illegal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's illegal, and prosecution should happen. I mean, this just goes into a whole system that's out there.
It should happen expeditiously.
Yes.
And
accountability, as we always say, accountability.
Yes. Just
Okay.
to let you guys know, tomorrow I will dig into the 15 boxes of the Trump files that went missing, and I will get into the Tesla racism lawsuits. But before we call it a night, I do want
That's
to
a
just
good one.
last clip so we can just close the chapter on all things NFL related. So let's go.
See, when I read that, everything is true.
So if you couldn't read it, it said, if Eminem triggered you while he took a knee and the national anthem wasn't playing, then it wasn't about the freaking anthem after all.
I mean, I'll be the first to say, honestly, at the time it took place, when he kneeled down and Dre was coming to the piano, I thought he was getting ready to like cut into another song at the moment, but then things shifted. So it took me to identify that no, he wasn't. He actually stayed down. Like he wasn't waiting for a cue at a certain part of the piano to, okay, now we're breaking into another song. So it did take me a minute to gather what was going on.
Oh, I agree.
Just because of what was happening around him.
Yeah, the placement of his kneeling was a bit odd for me, but I'm like, okay, I get I was like, okay, I get the gesture. I get what he's doing.
For me, had Dre not gone to the piano, I probably would have focused more on him kneeling. But I thought it was a matter of I'm taking a pause while he went. I didn't know, I didn't fully identify it right away.
Yeah, because everybody was just so hyping in the moment.
Right.
But racists will always tell on themselves. They're like, oh, Kaepernick is disrespecting the troops. The national anthem has nothing to do with it. And I'm like, if you support the national anthem so much, weren't you worried about it being played in?
We already had service members come out and say that it wasn't disrespectful.
Well, first of all, the U.S. States military paid back in the 80s to start having the national anthem played at the beginning of sporting events to increase patriotism. Like, we're back in Germany. But my thing is, if you love this country so much and you're such a patriot, why not fight for the national anthem to be played before presidential press conferences, before congressional press conferences, before things like that? Not a damn sporting event, not at the beginning of the class day for students.
Right. Because people will say, oh, how much they love the flag, but they're not knowing who's working for the flag, who represents the flag.
Oh, and I'm gonna say something that's gonna ruffle a bunch of feathers. So this will be my closing thoughts, and then we can get your closing thoughts.
Do it.
I've always thought the dumbest thing I've ever witnessed in my life are people who live in the United States that fly the United States flag. Who are you proving to that you are American, that you're North American, a United States citizen? I can understand if you lived in Germany, Sweden, Australia, you want to show people like, I'm proud of my home country. Motherfucker, we're all in here together. We know where you live. We know where you came from. Why are you flying it? And why do you need so many of them? You don't get this is not like a video game where the more flags you collect, the more of a patriot you are and you grow in size. No.
How about this?
That's the thing I've ever seen.
How about the fact that some, not all, some replaced the Confederate flag with the American flag?
Mm-hmm.
Because some, not all, some may have felt a little more comfortable flying the Stars and Stripes than flying the Confederate flag. So they made that, some made the transition, whereas others just said, you know what, I'm flying this rebel flag as long as I want. And, you know, but yeah, I mean, it's not every day is not the 4th of July or something. I mean, what are you, I mean, like I said, the flag for a lot of people is just the flag. It doesn't have substance behind it. It just happens to be the soil you're currently on. Because they don't know what it truly means. What's really behind it? What has it done for everyone that's standing on this soil? Because ultimately, the Stars and Stripes are supposed to be for everyone that's out here.
Well, except for me.
And it's not.
It's the 52nd stanza.
And then there's the Bahamas flag that we can fly.
And I don't even fly one of those.
Nah, we'll just get you a mug or t-shirt.
And I don't know. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. But thank you for joining me.
Yes.
I will see like I said, tomorrow we will get into the Tesla racism suits, and the Trump files, the 15 boxes that were discovered. Told you all, it was a lot tonight.
Are those like the X-Files? No.
Okay. Well, some of them clogged some toilets in the White House.
There might have some aliens in there.
Yeah. But as always, each one teach one, each one reach one.
All right. Bye, everybody.